And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our presentation of Crossing the Line, a fearless team of brothers and the sport that changed their lives forever. We are here today with author Kareem Rosser and moderator Randy Savvy. This event includes an audience Q&A, so to submit a question, just use the Ask a Question button at the very bottom of the screen. You can also vote for any questions you'd like for our guests to answer, and they will make their way to the very top of the list. Also, please consider supporting our bookstore by purchasing a copy of Crossing the Line Tonight. Just click on the green purchase button directly below the viewer screen, and it will take you to our website where you can complete your purchase. And Vroman's is the oldest independent bookstore in Southern California. We've been around since 1894, and it's thanks to generous patrons like yourselves who keep our business running. So every bit of support goes a very long way. All right, so let me introduce our guests, and then we can jump right in. Kareem Rosser received a BA in economics from Colorado State University. While at CSU, he led his college polo team to a national polo championship, and he was honored as the Player of the Year. He currently serves as the executive director of a nonprofit fundraising arm called Friends of Work to Ride. And joining him tonight is our moderator, Randy Savvy. Randy launched Compton Cowboys in 2017 to continue his family's mission of offering horseback riding to at-risk youth. And working out of the studio on the ranch, he crafted a music style of his own, and his tracks turned heads throughout the industry, including the one and only Dr. Dre. So with that said, I'm going to turn off my camera and let them take things away from here. All right. Enjoy the talk, everyone.
Do it. What up, everybody? How's everybody going? Kareem, I'm happy to see you, brother.
What's up?
I'm happy to be here with you, man. I'm so inspired by you. It's actually, when I heard about you and your story, I looked into some of the things and materials that were sent to me, and I did my own research and immediately just felt so connected with you. There's so much synergy, and so we're pretty much synonymous in what we're doing. Both in the inner city with the horses and then just in life and business and what we're doing mission-wise. So happy to have you here, bro. Excited to just be here and talk to you in front of the people. I guess we can kick it off by, just getting right into, your story. And I'm so interested in the first time that you came across the horses and what that was like for you, because I know what it was like for me, and I'll tell you a little bit about that, but I was born into it, so it's a little bit different. But I want to know about you just stumbling across the barn and how that was for you, man.
Yeah, no, Randy, thanks for moderating and having this conversation with me. As you mentioned, we share so many similarities, and I was fortunate enough to visit your ranch back in 2017. Met your aunt and met some of the other kids, and was just blown away by what you guys were doing out on the West Coast. But the first time I met horses, the first time I was introduced to horses, it was just life-changing. Immediately there was a connection, and I'm sure when you bond with a horse, it's just something that's special, and non-horse people really just don't understand it. So my two older brothers introduced me to horses. I was 8 at the time, and when I showed up to the stable, I was just blown away by the smell, the size of horses, the animals that were there. And then the first time I got on, I didn't want to get off. So, I'm sure it's probably similar thing for you.
It's so funny. I'm laughing when you say the smell, because that's normally the thing that makes people go the opposite way. They're like, I can't stay. Right. So it's so funny that you say that the smell was what brought you in. Because actually saying, man, I'm actually born and raised here in the Richland Farms community of Compton, which is an agricultural zone. It's a horse town. Is actually the ground zero where Compton was founded. So I was born into it. I can't even remember a time in my life ever where there was not horses. So for me, it's a little bit different because it was almost like just regular life for me. It was just as right. As present in life to me as air and water and food and everything else. It was horses because I was born and already had horses. So I'm always interested in people's, that first response when you're just growing up as a regular kid in the city, and then you just come across the horses and what that's like. And I know many of our members in the Compton Cowboys share that same vibe. So I'm thinking about this whole like polo thing, which, man, again, salute to you. It's incredible what you have done, what you do. I mean, the sport itself is an amazing sport. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of stamina, a lot of determination. Talk to me about getting into polo, and was that always like once you started, did you know, okay, this is what I wanted to do, or did you kind of have to find that? And once you got into it, what kept you and motivated you to keep doing it?
Yeah, no, I mean, so the first time I was introduced to polo, I was 9, and prior to that, I was just learning how to ride, and I was a timid rider. My 2 older brothers, they were fearless. They would jump on any horse and just get thrown off and just start riding. Where me, I just wanted to kind of spend the majority of my time on a pony. My first ever ride was on a pony. It took me probably a good 6 months before I got onto a full size horse. And then it took me another probably 6 months before I learned how to canter. So eventually, I started, picked up the mallet for the first time when I was 9. And as soon as I, picked up a mallet, I was hooked. Like most polo players, you pick a mallet up, you start swinging, you start hitting the ball, and you just want to do it over and over and over. So for me, that was kind of my introduction. And, prior to that, I had no idea what polo was. And I mentioned in my book, polo, for all I know, it could have been made up when I showed up to the stables. I just saw, my brothers and those guys were playing. I got on, I saw them playing. I wanted to sort of follow after them. And then eventually, I played my first game, and then it just, sort of trickled from there. And, I became an addict.
Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, okay, well, I definitely understand the whole, like, picking up the mallet and then, like, because as a kid, hitting balls and like making it sport is like that's any like young boys and even girls who dream of as a kid just being outside playing sports some kind of way, making up stuff, just having fun, especially in the environment that we come from. So I totally get that. And that makes sense to why you would be it just started as just some fun intrigue. And then that's what I wanted to get to next was like, when did you know that you were like, okay, I'm good at this? And like, what was that like starting to take it serious and then turn into like, your high school national championship and then going to college and doing it? Like, this is real history making stuff that you've done. Tell me about that early phase and like getting through that.
Yeah, no, when we first started playing police, when I first started playing, we were terrible. Majority of the polo gear and horses that we were given, they were all donated horses, all donated equipment. So just kind of hand-me-down equipment. So our first couple years, we were just figuring out, honestly, how to just stay on top of a horse, and then, eventually we started learning how to hit the ball. Then we started learning the rules of the game. So for many years, we were just getting our butts kicked. Myself, my brothers, and our other teammates that were part of the organization, our first couple games, we were losing 30-0. So you can only imagine how that feels going out there trying to compete, especially coming from a place where, at many times we felt like we didn't even belong where we were. It took years for us to kind of get to a point to where, we were competitive, and teams started taking us seriously. We would show up to places and, people were just kind of like, who are these guys? Who are these kids? Not only were we not, white, we're kids coming from the hood in West Philly, showing up with these, duct tape boots, hand-me-down helmets that probably weren't safe. And then we also kind of at the time we were crappy riders. And then eventually, I got into high school and I started to figure out the game. I started just watching, watching other players, watching better players, seeing what they were doing, watching a lot of film. I spent a lot of time watching just VHS tapes of old games, and then that's just sort of kind of, helped me learn the game and help my siblings learn the game as well. And then after a lot of beatings, just got to the point to where, our game got better and we started winning.
Man, that's incredible. So now y'all are history making guys. I mean, I've seen obviously, you won a high school championship. You won a college championship. There's a beautiful mural of you in your city. What does that feel thinking about that legacy and what you've done? Like, has it resonated with you? What the magnitude of what you have accomplished, or you kind of just still in the vibe of it?
No, it means a lot to me, personally, especially coming from a place like we grew up in West Philly. Kids don't even make it to their 18th birthday. Their families who live in Philadelphia and never leave the city their entire lives. So to be able to do some of the stuff that we've done over the years and some of the things that we've accomplished, many people just dream of some of the things that we've done. But one of the great things is that we're examples of people who are given opportunities, can go out and do something with it and make something out of ourselves. So to be able to be a good example for some of the younger generations and people who look up to us, and kids who feel like there may not be any hope or any opportunity out there. Myself and my siblings and the other kids who grew up in the program. To kind of be the face of that, it's a great feeling, and I hope that, we can continue to inspire people, and, by those seeing, what we've done, kind of pushes them to want to do something bigger.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny. I'm listening to you. You sound like me. When people ask me questions, like these are the same exact type of answers I'll give it because we do like the Cowboys thing. It's the same story, man. Growing up in the hood, trying to do something different. Being unwelcome and it's having little raggedy stuff and trying to make it and push through and become something. So I definitely hear you, man. I definitely feel you on that. I wanted to ask you about the effort that you're putting in the polo. Obviously, to be a great polo player and to make it to the status, championship status is a lot of work. It's a lot of mental, spiritual, physical effort on your behalf. How do you balance that with still your everyday life in the streets of Philly, man? Like, having to go to school, having to navigate the terrain. I read about it and see when you talked a lot about losing your brother and losing a teammate and those kind of things, and I can relate so closely to that because I'm again same story, bro. Like I have some friends that didn't make it, that weren't involved with the horses or regardless, that just aren't here today. So, and I know how that feels, but to get to where you got, how did you balance that whole thing?
Yeah, it was a tough balance. I think about, me even, leaving Philly and traveling and, traveling different parts of the world. And then also, going away to school. These are all things that were important for me to be able to move forward in life, right? Is go out and get an education. But, it was a struggle to try to figure out, how do I leave my family behind to go further myself? But I knew it was important so that then I can go back, I can go educate myself, see what was out there, but at the same time, then come back and then kind of show my family, show my nieces and nephews that there is something other than where we grew up in West Philly. But just, leaving and going to places like the Hamptons here in New York and just, here on the East Coast, where some of the best polo happens in the world, or going down to Wellington, Florida, where, I'm kind of, I'm hanging out with some of the elite, and there are times where I felt uncomfortable just because that's not where I'm from and I don't look like those people. Sometimes there was just really no connection there. But at the same time, then trying to come back home and fit in at home, realizing that, now I kind of have, progressed a little bit more, but at the same time, I know that's home and, and that, my folks at home needed me. But it was a struggle at times trying to figure it out. But I knew that it was important that I had to get out, at least had to leave home at some point to better myself. But I always knew that I was going to come back and give back.
Yeah, that's great, man. That awareness is so sharp, and kudos to you for knowing, because a lot of times that is a lot of what the block is of getting out the hood, man. It's like the hood is basically your comfort zone. And to go do anything else outside of there, as great as the upside may be and opportunities may be, it's still a world. And where we come from is like sometimes you fear the unknown more than you fear the dangers in your own hood. Like I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was like, it's so interesting, the irony that we grew up in these environments where it was dangerous, but even though the dangers exist, I still feel more comfortable in my hood than I do in elite world over there with all people that don't look like me, right? Even though the safety the safety numbers might be like, it might be the most safest place on earth, but the simple fact that it's not my zone. So I understand that lack of comfort. And I want to kind of touch on that with you of like the race component of it. Like, were you always aware that, wait a minute, like, why am I lonely, or why are we the only black, and what did that feel like? Or did it never really occur to you until a certain point, or was there a moment where it really hit you? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, Randy, that's a good question. Like you said, sometimes growing up where I grew up in the bottom, that's where the neighborhood, that's what the neighborhood's called where I grew up. This past year, just to put it into perspective, Philly had over nearly 500 homicides. The majority of those homicides happened where I grew up. But there are times where just because that's home and that's where I know. And then I would go off to places and feel uncomfortable, even though I know it was safe, to your point. But, growing up and playing in this elite sport, and that being polo, I felt out of place, but for the most part, I've had positive experiences. Our talent allowed us to really be a part of this. We eventually got good enough where people, began to accept us. But never that we were rejected because we looked different, or we're black or whatever. For the most part, people have always been inviting. And I think just the good that we've been trying to do, and the positive impact that we had on Philadelphia, it just continued, to show that what we're doing in Philly is working. What Leslie has built in terms of the Work to Ride program, it's going well. So for the most part, people have been very inviting, and I haven't really had any pushback from anyone in the sport because I look different.
Yeah, and you know what? That's great to hear, because I share that sentiment. We grew up. Actually, the first Cowboys I ever saw were black. I grew up in my neighborhood. All the Cowboys and everything was black. It was black. Mostly black Cowboys, and now as I started getting a little older, I started seeing Mexican Cowboys. I didn't see white Cowboys till I got old enough to start watching Western movies. And so to me, that was like, wait a minute, what is that white Cowboy doing? Like, so when I would go to the rodeos and stuff, like a lot of my earlier activities and events and rodeos were like black rodeos and black everything. So I was like, thought that was the norm. And then when I went to the other rodeos, where like the bigger ones and the more established ones and the more ones where it's like not black rodeos, that's when I was really culture shocked. And I thought I was like, wait, am I tripping? Like, why are all these white people here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was kind of the other way around for me. And so we never felt that sense of being out of place. We always feel like, man, this is just our world. This is what we do. This is, we always thought about the events, and we came there to compete. We came there to do our best. There were times where we would notice little stuff. You notice how people look at you, or they might make slide comments on the side or whatever. But for the most part, in the equestrian industry, I will say, man, we have had a pretty positive experience. I mean, especially once you show up and you show that you're capable and you deserve to be there, you're talented, you love the main thing is that they want to make, like, everyone needs to know that, first of all, we actually love these horses. Like, this ain't, we just trying to finesse something or trying to be cool or take over. No, we actually love these horses. We love what we do on these horses. So being a horse lover automatically connects you with folks. Folks, and then from there, it goes from there. So I definitely understand that experience. You talk a lot about Leslie and the program, and I've seen some stuff on her. She seems like an incredible woman. I definitely see a lot of our founder in her. And you said that they've had a relationship, which I also know. Talk to me about your relationship with Leslie, and like, was she like a mother figure to you, or aunt, or like how did it go? Like, with that.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. So just Leslie Heiner is the founder and executive director of Work to Ride, and she founded and started the organization back in '94. She is to me, I consider her a saint. She's an incredible person. She sacrificed her entire life to serve inner city kids in Philly and take rescue horses and use them as an incentive to help kids leave their impoverished and disadvantaged communities. And she works nearly, I want to say like 90 hours a week. But her dedication and determination to change lives is second to none. If we could clone her, we definitely would clone her if that was a thing. But my relationship with her is very close. And I think, similar to your aunt Maisha, who founded your organization, they share so many similarities in our dedication to serving underserved communities. And it takes special people to do that. And your aunt being one of those special people to realize that, your commitment to an organization or to something similar to Work to Ride or to the Compton or I think the Junior Compton, sorry, I'm thinking Posse, right? I'm sorry if I'm got the name there. They're two special women, and it's really hard to kind of say anything bad about them. But without her, I honestly don't know where I would be. I consider her a second mom. She, I didn't have a father in my life, so she basically played that second mom role and father figure for me. And she just, she showed me basically how to be selfless, and so she's special. And now I'm hoping that I can kind of, sort of fill her shoes just a little bit, whatever it is, and just continue on her mission and making sure that her legacy stick around, when she's long gone.
Yeah, I love the fact that this story is being uplifted in this time, given the context of the culture that we're in today. We've seen a lot of different kind of racial and different issues related to ethnicities and different things like that. And I love to see, I think a lot about the fact that she's this white woman in this Black urban inner city environment, helping these young kids. Like, is there any kind of dynamic or anything that was kind of like a challenge when it comes to that is concerned? Like, anybody ever treat her kind of way, or did she ever make it a special point to be like, hey, I'm a white lady, y'all some Black kids, and don't worry about that. We gonna talk to me about that.
No, it's crazy because when my brothers first came back home, when they met Leslie and found the stable, so they came back, and found this incredible place. We want to be a part of this program. My mom said, sure, no problem. And then some of my cousins, aunts, people in the neighborhood, you're really going to trust a white woman with your kids?
Right, right.
So there wasn't like, you're really going to trust this white woman with your kids? And, she was like, yeah, there's no problem. And I think that was one of the best decisions my mom has ever made. My mom was a young mom. She had 6 kids before she was 30, and she was a single mom raising all 6 of us by herself. So she obviously needed the help. But Leslie is probably one of the realest, just most authentic, straightforward person that I know. And she knew, she had this special talent to understand, kids who are troubled and just dealing with so much trauma. She just knew how to take that and transform it into something positive. And so she never saw Black or white, and there were instances where she had to stick up for us being, kids of color, and especially some of the guys before me, she had no problem telling someone, are my kids not allowed here because they're Black? But she never saw the whole color thing, and she would drive her truck through the hood, and everyone knew Miss Les, who Miss Les was. She could walk into any corner store, have no issue. It's even still today, she's still respected pretty much in any hood in Philadelphia.
Her street credit is up. That's great, man. I love to hear that, because that's what it takes. It takes those coalitions. It takes people reaching across the aisle, people that are other and different from them, whether it be background, race, culture, anything, to make things better. And I've always only seen things get better when opposites attract, if you will. What I'm saying? Like, you got whites and Blacks working together, or you got men and women working together, and like different things like that. I've only ever seen positive. So that's great, man. And so really, all of this is built around all of this, your story, Leslie's story, mine, Maisha's, it's all built around the central thing, which is the horse, right? So the horse is the X factor. The horse is what makes this whole thing work. And so talk to me about your love for the horse's role in your life and for your career and just everything.
Like you said, man, horses they're just powerful creatures, and their ability to connect with people is just, it's something I think only a horse person can really experience. They're used for all different forms of therapy. You see people come from, overseas who's struggling with PTSD, and you see families who or children or people who struggle with autism, and horses, figure out ways to connect with them. For me, growing up in West Philly and dealing with some of the trauma that I dealt with and a lot of the loss similar to you, whenever I was at the barn, I felt liberated. The horses allow me to disconnect from reality back in West Philadelphia.
Right.
And when you're at the barn, and I'm sure you can probably also, agree to this, is that, if they command so much attention that, you want to make sure you're paying attention to make sure you're not hurt. But at the same time, the serenity that it gives when you're sitting there grooming and just trying to figure out if the horse is injured or understand the personality, all those things allow you to disconnect from all the other troubles that are going on in your life. So whenever I was at the stables, I was a happy kid. Even today, as an adult, when I go to the stables, I kind of forget about all the stress from my office or just kind of whatever's just kind of stressed me out at that time. I run back to the barn because that's my happy place, and that's a place where I feel most free and most safe.
Man, you preach to the choir, man, because that's absolutely right. The horses are a lifesaver. They are therapy. They are your counselor. They are your best friend. They're your sibling. Sometimes they take on these roles in your life. And I know for me personally, man, our motto for Compton Cowboys is streets raised us, horses saved us. And saved the past tense word. But these horses continue to save my life every day. I mean, I'm blessed and fortunate enough, just lucky that we have this family ranch and I actually live here. I live on site, so I'm able to, first thing I do when I get up in the morning, I hurry up and throw my whatever jacket and shoes on. I just go outside. And I just stand there and stare at the horses and absorb the sunlight and just listen to them, watch them eat. And that's my therapy. That's my daily of therapy. Even if I don't ride, even if I don't even touch a horse, just being presence really helps me, man. It keeps my energy so pure and allows me to maneuver through life the way accordingly. Because I remember at one point I moved away from here and I was, going to college, living on campus, chasing my degrees and stuff. And I always felt like something was off. Even though I was having a blast, I was getting my learn on. I had good grades. I was on the football teams and just having, the college experience. And I always felt like I never felt fully fulfilled. I always felt something was off, and I couldn't put my finger on it until I started getting off work and being so agitated. I was like, I just need to go lay something. So I just found a park, and there was a tree, big old tree, and I would just park under the tree and just tilt my head back and just lay in the tree. And I realized, like, man, I'm missing. That's what's wrong with me. Like, I'm missing my nature fix. Like, I'm not nature. So left my job, jumped in full steam to start Compton Cowboys, moved back to the ranch, been thugging it here ever since, building with my homies and my family. And it's been a great ride, but the horses, it's all about the horse. And my main priority right now is like, as long as we can keep these horses healthy and keep them alive and well, and they're going to take care of us. As long as we take care of them, they'll take care of us. And that's been my story all life. So that's what it's all about, man. So I definitely appreciate you being here and being candid and opening up about what you got going on. Definitely, y'all want to make sure you go get this incredible book, Crossing the Line, Kareem Rosser, man. And so I know you had some stuff that you wanted to holler at me about. I'm down to, tell you whatever.
I mean, I've been just super impressed what you guys are doing out on the West Coast. As you noted earlier, many synergies and just some similarities in what we're doing here in Philly. And I don't think many people know much about the Black Cowboy and just how many inner cities across America and the presence of black cowboys in these inner cities. I just this past summer I've seen some of the stuff that you were doing with your group. Just kind of participating in the protest, which is incredible stuff. I just want to kind of get your perspective and talk a little bit more about kind of what does it mean to be a Black cowboy, on the West Coast or just kind of throughout the country?
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking that. This is a very important conversation that we have. Something that's a big part of our mission is just, reclaiming our culture, our heritage, our traditions, and acknowledging and highlighting the effort and the contributions that Black people have made to the West, to the American West and the lifestyle and everything that goes with it. What happened, they say after the Civil War, when the West was being pioneered, 1 in every 4 cowboys was Black, but you would never know that because, there wasn't much documentation, visual media, different things like that were there available to showcase that. And then not only that, the people who did control the media, which basically at that time was Hollywood, they essentially, crafted the narrative and the image of the American cowboy, which essentially just became John Wayne. And that whole aesthetic. And there's no knock to John Wayne. Actually, John Wayne's son is my boy, Ethan. He's running his dad's companies now and everything. We're always laughing about how his dad was just a beach bum guy who got a gig on a movie set one time, and then it was great, and he just took off running with it. But so for me, it's like growing up. Like I said, growing up for me, all the Cowboys are Black at first. So I just saw a big disconnect. Like, wait a minute. How come all the Cowboys on TV and all the Cowboys that's famous and cool and on all the billboards is white, but all the Cowboys that I see in my hood is Black? So what's that all about? So I was like, when it was time to start the Comedy Cowboys, I was like, man, we have an opportunity here to use, modern technology, platforms and different things and take advantage of all the mediums that are out there to showcase what we've done. You know what I'm saying? Build a platform that allows us to then pay homage, show historical references, evoke a sense of history and culture and tradition and lifestyle that will make people intrigued and go look into it. And then it's just learn to appreciate it as a part of the history that, exists in this country, not just be so one-sided towards the other side. And so for us, it's a fun opportunity to just, express ourselves, pay homage to the Black Cowboy, because the Black Cowboy is a very, central figure in the American West and just America as it stands. Black folks were slaves. We were the ones dealing with the animals and the cows and all that stuff, when we were slaves. So after slavery, that was a lot of our skill sets. And so we used a lot of that to move forward as a people and to develop, industry and all that stuff. So, when I sit right here in front of you with my cowboy hat on, I wear this hat regularly. This is my regular vibe. I love to put it on because I feel like it really means something. It represents something. My daddy wore his hat. My family wore their hats, and my homies wear our hats now. So we all about making sure that people are like, yo, the Black Cowboy is a thing, and what's that all about? And be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And the kids can look at it like, okay, that's dope. I want to do that.
Yeah. No, and that kind of helps me segue into the next question about just the kids and your impact that you have on your community. Again, we think about kind of, us being, Black and equestrians, and, there aren't many Black equestrians, and, just kind of talk a little bit more about kind of what is it like for the kids in your community and kind of how are they seeing you as a Black cowboy? Do you hopefully you want to use this as a way to kind of, take kids away from some of the disadvantaged, communities that they're in? Because I think we share that same similarity in, using the power of horses to hopefully transform lives.
That last statement is it. That's all it is, man. It's using the power of horses to transform lives. I mean, we have a beautiful ranch. We have 17 horses down here. All of them have a different story. They all have a different, you know how they are. Every horse is different. Every horse has got a story, a personality, a vibe. And so we all have them all here as opportunity, as a way to attract the kids around here. Because you got to think, growing up in the hood, like you said, it's like you ain't even gonna just see no horses. Like they're not just gonna be. So for us, it's like, whoa, we got horses in our neighborhood and we ride them around, and then the kids get to see them. Like I'm telling you, that feeling of, especially now with everything with COVID, and the kids can't go to school and they just at home. And man, when we get on these horses and we just ride them through the neighborhood, and we purposely take the residential streets so we can potentially see neighbors and kids outside, and they just light up, bro. It's like they just like, wow, and that experience changes their life, because if you grow up never seeing these kinds of animals or knowing that these kind of people even exist, now your mind is forever changed. Your visual, you laid your own eyes on a reality, and this person is like your neighbor, and they came from right around the corner where you from. So that's very important work that's getting done in the neighborhood, and it creates an outlet because the kids, they just want to do something cool and different and fun and something that they can brag about to their friends and be like, yeah, I do this, So that's what it's all about, using the power and the draw and the magic of the horse. The horse is like this magic, right? And then the kids always all go, whoa, what is that? And they want to touch and see. And then as they come, we're able to say, okay, look, you want to ride, you want to do this. This is what it takes to be involved with these horses. You gotta go to school. You gotta act right. And then when you're dealing with the horses, you gotta be calm. You learn how to communicate effectively, non-verbally. You gotta learn how to be confident and quiet, and all these important life skills that transfer over to your everyday life. And so, especially in a neighborhood where lives are taken at such a high rate, a lot of that has to do with not even understanding the value of life. So when you get around horses and you've got to take care of them, and you got to, especially when you're on a farm where you're seeing plants and animals and things grow, you have to be hands-on responsible for that growth. It translates into your life because you're looking at a person now like, wait a minute, that's somebody's son or daughter that has to breathe, eat, sleep, get sunlight, all these different things. So it's much harder for you to want to harm that person because now you've been dealing and seeing life with your own eyes and your own hands. So that's what it's all about, man, using this branch as just this draw. It's like magic. It's like when somebody referred to it once as Narnia. It's like Narnia, good, man, and it attracts. And then in that process, we just instilling goodness, and hope that ends up translating into people just being good people and being good members of their community.
No, absolutely. I think you touched a little bit on it too. We both, I think I've learned just through some of the materials I read on you, and I talk a bit about in my book and just dealing with loss, and then also listen to some of your music, which I love your flow, bro. I think you got an incredible flow.
Bro.
And just you I think you had some lyrics. It's kind of goes around like, I think red light, blue light, I think chalk on the ground, yellow tape or something along those lines. And that was just so powerful. The imagery, from the lyrics there were incredible because, it brought me back to, when I was 10 years old and I lost my best friend, her mom, her father, and they all were executed. They all were shot execution style in her basement. And I recently lost my brother, about a year ago. He was also shot in the head and killed in West Philly, and I just think about all the loss and the trauma that I dealt with. And I think, you even cover in some of your music and stuff, I'm just curious on, how you dealt with the loss that, just your friends and family members that you grew up with in the hood. For me, it was just kind of running to the stable and, and spending time with the horses. I see now, I imagine it's through your music and it's probably through your writing as well. So can you talk, I would love to hear how you dealt with it, because I know for me, it was just spending time on a polo field.
Yeah, man. Well, first, I appreciate you listening to the music and being able to pick that up from the music, because I very much I'm a man of principle, and I stand on certain values. And for me, it's all about uplifting, rescuing our people from these traumas that we experience on a daily basis in different environments. So I appreciate you recognizing that and touching on that. For me, dealing with loss, it was so regular growing up, and the irony of being in the hood, and it's like, in the hood you lose a lot of people because of all the things that are wrong with the hood. But in the hood also, there's so much community because everybody's in close quarters, close proximity. We all share resources because we don't have a lot, so we're very communal. And so having each other, having your brothers, and you're the ones that you haven't lost, having your family, your sisters, and your homies, and having people that are still here with you to grieve with and to move forward with, that keeps you going, because a lot of what I would imagine would drive somebody crazy is having loss and trauma and different things, and having nowhere to run or nowhere to talk to. Like, imagine you didn't have the stable, you didn't have your teammates and Leslie, what would you have done in a situation? Who knows, So for me, definitely the horses, man, they trust, man. So many people have said, I don't know what I would have did without my horse. Families die, whatever. Sometimes they stay alive. If they had a horse, they're alive through their horse now. So you want to, you want to be around their horse and ride their horse or take care of their horse as a way to keep them alive. And it's those different kind of things. But the horses are definitely a very much a therapeutic, a therapeutic relationship. And so horses, and like you say now, I've been doing music 10 years. My music is my therapy center as well. Whenever I'm feeling crazy, I run to the studio. A lot of times, most of the songs I'm doing are inspired by something real. And so that song, actually, Colorblind, is the song you're referring to. Was inspired by, I was talking to one of my friends who lost her boyfriend, lost her partner at a liquor store. He was just going in to see what's up with his people, and he was killed there. And I just started thinking about, man, that's such a normal story, and it shouldn't be normal. And as a people, in the hood, what happens when people die is, when we have our little block party, do a little candlelight visual, drink and smoke, whatever, hang out, and it's like on to the next one. It's like it's almost in an eerie way. It's like a celebration of their death. And I just think that is a little bit toxic, and trying to find a way to flip that, and let's start to heal and come together and love each other and get better, so that we don't have to experience these things. And I feel like the horses did so much of that for us. These horses really saved our life, man. Our common Cowboy group, a lot of us wouldn't be here. Particularly say that, like, man, I would have been dead in jail without horses. So, just the horses, man, having each other as community, and then having the ranch, was made it all.
No, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. Again, I just think about all the stuff that we went through, and then having my siblings that are here with me, and then and just think about some of the kids I grew up with, and someone asked me, I was chatting with someone not too long ago, just about how the kids I went to kindergarten with and elementary school and middle school with, majority of them are gone, and some of them even make it to their 18th birthday. So to kind of just think about that, and to also try to figure out where would I have been if I didn't have horses. I like to think that I would have been somewhere doing something good, and just because I'm an ambitious person, and that the street life, I never felt like that was for me, or I kind of had what it really what it would take to kind of be in the streets. So just again, it's crazy the power of horses and how they can just pull an individual away from some really bad circumstances. I just kind of know what we probably at some point going to get into a Q&A, but lastly, just would love to hear kind of what are some of your plans for the future, with your group. I know that we are here in Philly are trying to expand our program to serve more inner city kids here in Philadelphia. Hopefully at some point, we can roll this model out or across the country. Clearly you guys are doing it out in Compton, over on the West Coast, and there's been a lot of success. I think before we got into this conversation, you say your aunt, she was basically doing this for 30 years. She's handed it over to you to kind of now, you're now in charge and to continue to move the mission forward. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're trying to do, and then let's open it up to the group.
Definitely, man. Well, yep, absolutely. I'm excited about having the reins now. She done gave me the reins. Now it's my turn to ride. Steering the business in the organization where we wanted to go. So really the first big part of our vision was how do we get as many people, as many eyeballs on this, and as many minds and heads wrapped around what we're doing down here. It's all about, for me, it was like, how do we raise awareness just in a really potent, big way? And I just so happen to be very passionate in my career interest that we talked about is music, also just generally the entertainment business. And entertainment is the strongest engine to storytelling, raising awareness in the world. There's nothing more powerful than a feature film that tells a story, or a big ad, or a book, or something that really gets people in a worldwide capacity into your world, into your zone. So for me, it was like we got to get this on social media. So we had to establish the Compton Cowboys brand, the group, make it a cool pop culture thing, bring a whole new aesthetic, a fresh vibe to it, and get the entertainment industry to start using that engine. So right now we're using this social media. We got a feature film in development. We have a book out right now. We're doing fashion. Like, we got some TV opportunities coming up. We're using all those engines to raise awareness about Black people, horses, inner cities, and as we use those engines as we use that engine to drive the awareness, so that way once the world really gets hip to what we're doing, now we're like, okay, how do we start engaging with folks like yourself, folks like the clubs in New York and some of the clubs in Baltimore, and even I got homie that got a club in Africa, bro. And how do we start building those connective tissues to start creating a business model that allows us to do this community development and this Black Cowboy thing, not only be able to do great work in our community and change lives, but then how do we Black enterprise? You know what I'm saying? How do we have ownership and equity in everything that we do? How do we scale up what we do? And how do we share in the resources, sharing the benefits and rewards from that, start to take, be in the drive or in the saddle of, if you will, of our own destinies as a people. You know what I'm saying? So our big vision is just to be able to put ranches all over the world in these underserved communities where these horses can change kids' lives at the most high capacity. We want to produce Olympians, professionals all across the equine industry, whether you're a farrier, whether you're a dentist, whether you do equine massaging and all that, whatever horse training, no matter what you want to do. We want to be the catalyst to get you to change and move into that space. So that's the big mission. We're just taking it one day at a time, just being good people first, and then showing the world what we're doing and being together, working together and being community and having fun, and then allowing the journey to just take us where we're going, man. So
that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, I hope that you and I get to do something together. Clearly, there's a lot of overlap in our stories, and I think we're going for some of the same things. So let's make something happen.
Definitely, bro. Okay, I want to get into the Q&A. I have a question that says, do you have a favorite riding horse from your career?
A favorite what?
A favorite horse from your career.
I think I talk about my horse Polo, who I mentioned in the book. He was one of my first project horses that I received. So Leslie, the founder of Work to Ride, she had this idea of taking off the track thoroughbreds and turn them into polo ponies, and then we would eventually sell those horses to help fund our college education. But I started riding Cholo when he was 2, or I guess maybe 2 or 3, and I started to train him and wanted to turn him into a polo pony, but eventually I fell in love with him, and he was with me basically up and through my teenage years, and he's still at the Work to Ride barn today, taking care of kids. So Cholo is definitely probably one of my favorite horses.
Amazing. Yeah, we read about Cholo. I saw some of it. So I saw the visual of him when you did CBS Saturday Morning. So chilling, being himself. That's what's up. I know all about that. We actually did a lot of the same segments and specials. We did all the Today Show CBS stuff together. So I'm so happy to have connected with you. But as far as the book, like, what inspired you to feel like you needed to write this book? And then what was like the hardest part of like writing it? Like, is there any profound moments that hit you that changed your perspective of putting it together?
Well, what inspired me, there are a couple of things. One reason I wrote the book, I mentioned this in the past, as you say, we covered on CBS and 60 Minutes and Today's Show, all that good stuff. They always gave a high-level overview of the story and just bits and pieces of it. I thought it was important to tell the story in detail.
Right.
But going through that process was, it was kind of painful at times, just reliving some of those moments and thinking about some of those dark times. But I knew it was important to write those things and to detail it and tell it, and just kind of, again, reliving the moment and talking about the loss of my friend Mecca. That was tough. And then what inspired me really just my family and friends. It's just, I think there was a story to tell, and I think I would have been doing myself a disservice and everyone else if I didn't really put this book out there. And and I'm glad I did, and it seems to have been really well received in the community.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, man, it's a great book. Of course, it's very pulls on your heartstrings. It is very emotional. It's very candid. Like I can't imagine, having, being you and reliving those moments. Because when you write and go through those stuff, bro, it's like,
Yeah.
Like me, I'm like, same thing. I could have been writing the same, like telling the stories of when people are passing and how to deal with it and all that.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for getting through it and getting it out to the world, man. What do you hope people take from your book? Like, what is the goal for it in the world?
Yeah, I just hope people, realize when they're in struggling moments or they're just going through difficult times and whatever and facing adversity, that that this book can just show one how to persevere, how to get through a struggle, to realize that there is light on the other side for the most part, because I talk about many moments where I think many people would probably just give up and say, just screw it, this is my life, I'm stuck here in the bottom, there's this is it, but in reality, if you just, put in a little effort and show up to certain places or just show up in general, I think, you'll be amazed on how one could just take themselves from a tough situation and then kind of, find something, how to take themselves from a tough situation and then turn it into good. And I'm hoping that, by reading this book that, they realize that, you'll go to struggles, but at the end, with just a little hard work, things sometimes work out.
Right, man. I love it, man. And perseverance, man, and a lot of people can learn a lot from this book and just life in general, because that's what it's all about. Life is a series of hoops and bounds, ups and downs, obstacles, and it's all about hanging in there. We fall down, get back in the saddle, keep forward, and especially in this hard times that we're in right now, where so many challenges face us as a nation and as a world, society, and a culture. And perseverance is what we all can use a lot of right now. And I think your book was a testament to that. So again, thanks for you and your people for actually getting it together and getting it out, man. I know the effort. Trust me, we did this. We have a book out, so I know what it takes to get all that. It's a lot. Yeah. So what's next for you, man? What's the next thing? What is your next phase?
Yeah, I mean, next thing for me is to figure out, how to continue to move the organization, how to move work to Rive forward, building a new indoor volume facility, seating an endowment, refurbishing our current facility, and then, similar to what you're thinking is to kind of, roll out our model and what we're doing and try to touch other places, so really focusing on that and just kind of, continuing my career in finance and my short-term goals again, it's just really, figuring out how to change lives. Over these last few years, I fell in love with philanthropy and just the power of philanthropy and the ability to help other people is so fulfilling. So, if I can continue down that path and helping people, I hope that I can.
Same, man. I mean, we basically kindred spirits. We the same man from different coasts, man. Brothers from a different mother.
Yeah.
The same language. So it's a lot of great synergy, man. I definitely look forward to working with you because, again, everything you're saying, what we're doing over here on the West Coast, same thing. Trying to get our facility, get our operation tight, get it right, take it out, scale it up, take it to other places, and create a whole world of this that not only the kids can benefit from the next generation, but us as citizens and adults that are trying to find our way and trying to find a sense of independence and trying to find a sense of entrepreneurship and come from under the gun, under the thumb, under the knee, you know what I'm saying, and kind of be and reclaim our destiny, man. I'm right there with you. So with that said, I think we can wrap it up. I definitely appreciate you being here again. Y'all make sure that if you get a chance and want to go and get Kareem's book, it's at the store. I'm sure there's links and stuff everywhere. And also our Compton Cowboys book is available too. I think they were showing some stuff.
Yep, we have both of those books. If you just click on the green purchase link, it will take you to the page where both of the books are listed. So that is a way for people to easily purchase the book on our website. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you, Randy, for such a lovely talk. It was an honor having you both on our Vroman's Live segment. Again, for those of you who tuned in late, don't worry. The talk is recorded, so the replay will be available in about an hour. Just use the same stream link and you'll be able to rewatch it. And I think that about does it. Stay safe, everyone, and have a good evening. All right.
Thank you, Vroman.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
All right.
All right.